most people agree that diversity and inclusion in an increasingly diverse society are very important. And maybe especially so in media, because they are everywhere and they have a major influence on nearly everyone's life. But having said that, it's not yet easy to get there, because what exactly do we mean when we talk about inclusion and diversity? What is our goal and how can we reach that? Welcome to this Diversity Day lecture, organized by Radboud Reflects and the Radboud Office for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion. The Day Office is embedded in our university and it strives towards a healthy, safe world with equal opportunities for everyone. And the Day Office is led by Rona van Oudenhoven. She's sitting there. She's very kind. You can contact her anytime about every issue you want to discuss with her when it concerns inclusion and diversity. I'm very happy to introduce you tonight's speaker, Babah Tarawally. He's an author, journalist and columnist. He fled the war violence in his home country, Sierra Leone. And since then he has been writing in diverse media and diverse formats about diversity and inclusion and the role and meaning of cultural differences. And in his work, the African Ubuntu philosophy always plays a major role. My name is Liesbeth Jansen. I am a program writer for Radboud Reflects. And tonight we have, well, quite of a special format for you. We will just start with a short lecture by Babah Tarawally. And after that we have invited 3 students from the course Managing Diversity in Communication, taught by Noemi Mena Montes, where are you there, and her colleagues, to interview Babah Tarawally. And their names are Dejanique Petronilia, Nina van Loozen, and Hilda Ouraaha. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And they will one by one interview Babah Tarawally, so the evening is sort of cut up in 3 different chapters with each kind of a different topic and a personal note. And of course, there will also be room for your own questions in each chapter. Let me end with saying welcome to you. Thanks for being here. It's very nice to have you all here, and I think we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about diversity in media. Babah Tarawally, first of all, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Babah Tarawally, originally from Sierra Leone. I've been in the Netherlands for the past 25 years. But before I start, I want to do some small ritual. And I will ask you guys, when I say maku makuma, all of you will say ho ha. Are you ready for that? Maku makuma. Ho ha. Maku makuma. Ho ha. Okay, I see a lot of ladies here. The guys, I just want to see if the guys have more stronger voice. So when I say maku makuma, only for the men, the women should just wait. Except if you think that you are part of the guys, you can join. Yeah, but this is for the guys. If you feel you're a guy, that's diversity, inclusion. You can. Men, maku makuma. Let it be a bit like the warriors in the jungle. Eh? Maku makuma. Maku makuma. Ah, that's good. Let me try the ladies once more. You should just surpass the guys, eh? Yeah, are you ready? Maku makuma. Great. Well, makuma is in my language. You say maku. Maku means shut up, and you say ho ha. No, I let my voice be heard. Yeah, so you let your voice be heard because people they say shut up. Say no, I will speak out. So I'm here also to speak out, but in terms of diversity and inclusion and how the media works with that. I wrote a piece I would like to read, so I will take my time to read it and then we'll have the interview. The picture frame I see in front of me is made of gold, but the picture itself portrays an invading army. This is a metaphor I often use in my training to empower new migrants and refugees in the Netherlands. I tell them to make their own frame, which is made of gold. You imagine, most of the guys who came from elsewhere, especially in those countries out of Europe, they came through the sea, they came through the desert. They are not lazy. They are very strong people. So I tell them, you are made of gold. You are strong. You're not lazy. And that they should never let someone convince them to believe their frames are made of ash or toilet paper. Teaching them to believe in themselves is paramount, because if they don't believe in themselves, who else will? The media? When refugees or migrants arrive in a new country, the first to announce their arrival is the media. As facilitators of public debate, the media set the trend on how this new arrival will be welcomed by their host country. The media present the fact, set the tone and the pace for public and politicians to form their opinion and act. The ensuing public and political debate depict these refugees and migrants as invaders who need to be stopped, contained, and combated. The media which generated this public opinion succeeds in telling the narrative that frame migrants and refugees for social and political agenda setting. The media vuvuzela effectively emphasizes that immigrants and refugees are threatening the resilience of the European societies, its fragile national economies, and its security. Especially the latter is used to convince European citizens that terrorism is connected to immigration. And it is working, as we see the huge gains made by right-wing and extreme-right political parties around Europe. Some of them winning elections and forming a government that will eject and reject refugees and migrants. It is true that we view media as an important tool for managing the increasing diversity in society and promoting inclusion. But for so far, the media, especially in Europe, has not met that criteria. Instead, they have played a central role in framing refugees and migrants entering the shores of Europe as a tsunami of crisis. This negative reporting has contributed to the hostile attitudes amongst European citizens towards refugees and migrants. As a result, the discourse around refugees and migration in Europe has become a security threat. So, as a result, we see in adversity and harsh treatment of refugees and migrants going unabated. We can say with certainty that the odds are defeating the evil. The few organizations coming to the aid of refugees are either getting fatigued, frustrated, or losing subsidy from government that is becoming more hostile to refugees and migrants. It seems as if there is no way back, turning the tides from worst to bad and to better. We cannot hope alone on the media to start reframing a frame they had built with a picture that shows a dangerous invading army. Migrants themselves should start building a new frame with a picture telling their own story from their own perspective. As the old adage goes, if the lion does not tell its own story, the hunter will. It was the start of July when I was invited together with around 60 other people from different parts of the world in Madrid to be part of the Decolonizing the Newsroom program coordinated by ZEM OS 98 and Conscience Afro. With these gatherings of like-minded people, I came to understand that all is not yet lost. We have a way out. We can help change the narrative, the negative narrative, by emphasizing on the positive and added value refugees and migrants brings with them. When they go low on us, we go high, we say. We discuss concrete strategies which will work on to reframe the already negative frame of refugees and migrants. If all the traditional media, mainstream media in Europe, in unity, will portray a positive image of refugees from Ukraine and convince their citizens to accept them with open arms, we too can do the same by using the new media which is cheaper and without boundaries to change the algorithm from negative to positive. Because the more we send out positive messages and success stories of migrants and refugees, we automatically redirect the algorithm to a positive narrative. This is what we can do. Instead of waiting or hoping mainly that the traditional mainstream media can change the negative narrative of refugees and migrants. Let's take Ukraine as an example. The mainstream media made us all believe that we have a moral obligation to open our borders to Ukrainian refugees, give them stay on arrival, give them houses and accept them in our communities. Not only because they are running away from our enemy, Vladimir Putin, but because they look like the majority of us. Us, I mean white with blonde hair and blue eyes. Sharing this personal story with you will let you understand how me, who does not look like the majority of Europeans, have immersed this media narrative into my own bin. When I came back from Madrid, I noticed something has changed in my neighborhood in Utrecht. There was probably something in a local newspaper about the arrival of Ukrainian refugees, but I had missed that. Not a single online medium or television station has alerted me to this either. Although I was in Madrid, in Spain, I should have known when I got back home. I saw a cruise ship and suddenly a lot of people walking around in my neighborhood. I was thinking of tourists and not immediately of refugees. See how my mindset also has been changed by the media. The assumption that cruise ship next to my house in Utrecht was for tourists turned out to be a fallacy that I should never have made as a former refugee. Apparently, I was trapped in thinking that refugees are only people who look like me. I was disappointed when I found out not because my new neighbors are refugees, but because I unconsciously participate in the negative image of refugees. What I have learned from this is that anyone can be a refugee. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is or how rich you are. War can make anyone a refugee. I had read in the newspaper that the government is taking refugees into a boat, but I was not thinking of such a luxury ship. I will sometime in the near future like to make my dream trip around the world in a cruise ship. It was therefore unthinkable for me that refugees were staying on this cruise ship. I think the penny would have dropped if the residents in that cruise ship were Syrians or Black Africans. I took my daily evening walk along this cruise ship, but saw nothing to indicate that 200 vulnerable refugees are staying there and in need of protection. You can see this immediately at the regular asylum seekers centers, security or police posts at the entrance, protests from local residents, and the permanent presence of police. That is not the case with this group. They seem to be very okay. It all has to do with imaging. I started to think of the reasons why these refugees are not getting the same treatment as Black or Asian refugees. I did not hear any complaint about nuisance around this group of refugees. It is because there was no fall in house prices because of the arrival of these refugees? Or is it because the white Dutch residents in this neighborhood are in the minority? Or is it because the cruise ship gives the feeling that it will be leaving at any moment? My Moroccan and Turkish neighbors have other things on their minds than complaining about people who have fled their homes. Actually, I don't hear them complaining about anything in this neighborhood. Even when I turn my music up loud, no one comes to tell me to turn it down. Unlike in my previous neighborhood, a Phoenix neighborhood, I don't hear any complaints about my exotic African dish that it is smelling. I live fine in this neighborhood. I think the municipality, the police, and the housing construction do not agree with me. We are the only neighborhood close to the center of the city that does not have paid parking. Every 2 years, we vote massively against paid parking. Besides their white skin, what makes this group of refugees different from other refugees is that they are mainly women, children, and older men. The young men are in the war front. They are fighting to defend their country from invading Russian force and to allow my neighbors to return home and live in freedom. When I see my neighbors working, I think of the loss of their husbands, their sons, brothers, uncles, and cousins. They may live on a luxury ship, but I wouldn't trade with them for gold. So this is what I have written, but I have 3 questions which I am asking myself, and I will give an answer before the debate starts. The first question is, what do we mean by the terms inclusion and diversity? And why should we start with inclusion? So when we talk on this topic, inclusion and diversity, I always have an example about South Africa. I've been there so many times in South Africa. It's a country that is diverse, but it's not inclusive. So see the difference. It is diverse. Lot of nationalities, lot of different colors of people, white, black, brown, name it. But inclusion is still lacking. So I was thinking when Mandela took power, I was wondering why not first start with inclusion before diversity, instead of diversity before inclusion. So think about that. So the next question is, why are inclusion and diversity in the media important? But before we come there, let me just say something about inclusion. Inclusion for me is different from diversity. An example is when you have a party and you invite all your friends and you ask them to bring their own music with them. That is diversity. They come with their music. Inclusion is when you play those music and you all dance to it. Then it's inclusion. So you can be in a company, in a big company, and you have a lot of diverse people. But if you don't accept and tolerate their talent, then there's no inclusion. Inclusion is when you listen to them, you get them involved. Then we're talking about inclusion. So sometimes I say, why not do inclusion first? Then diversity will just be normal. So the next one was, why are inclusion and diversity in the media important? This is an important question because the media is the how I call it, is the wheelbarrow for the opinion makers. It makes our opinion, it makes that people think, it asks questions. The media is very important because the frame of the media is what keeps us watching television. Another example is like, you all know this television program they call Opsporing Gezocht. It's a Dutch program, Opsporing Gezocht. It's about looking for criminals. You know, like after the vacation, when we come back from vacation, there are a lot of thieves, they enter houses and people have their CCTV cameras, they pick them up. So when they come back from their vacation, they send all these films to the media house that is having this program. And what happens? You imagine, when there is vacation, mostly the rich go on vacation. People have money. So the poorer people leave behind. And those not empowered or they have less money, I'm not saying is a reason to go and steal, but thieves are coming from that type of situation. And let me be very clear here. We have thieves in the higher level, we have thieves in the lower level. In the corporate business, when they steal, we make a commission of inquiry. You know, when the lower thieves, they steal, we put them in prison easily. So what happens when these pictures come back to these media houses, these films, and 90% of them are people of color. So you imagine. So me in this neighborhood, I'm the one going to send the video to this television center. So I'm choosing what I'm sending. That's where it begins. So when they get it, 90% is black people or people of color. So what happens? Most of the people living in those villages who are not used to black people, they only look, most of the time they see that video, they only look at that television program. Black people are in trouble. Black people are stealing. So they have this narrative that this is true. So when you go to places like Drachten or Friesland, somewhere in Friesland, because I've been there before, when you walk in the neighborhood, they start to call the police. We see a black man walking around. It has happened to me. So when I start to think, how come their way of thinking has been changed? The media has played a big role in that. Suppose this media organization, the television, is only putting out white people with coat and tie, who are stealing. Then the narrative also will change. They will start to see, okay, these are also thieves. But that is not the case. Yeah? So the media has a role to play. And when the media has people working for them, now they have lot of people of color in the media, diverse, but still not inclusive, because they are not being used in the right way. I will come to that later. So I have another question about Okay, before I say that, let me just, who knows about this doll test, psychological program? There is an American researcher, psychologist, man and his wife, I think Kennedy and Mamie Clark. They did in the 1940s, they did a research on what I call the doll test. They call it doll test. They put black dolls and white dolls, and they ask these kids which one is the bad one, which one is the bad guy. And the white kids, they choose the black. And the black kids also choose the black. So then I asked, wow, how come? Even the black kids choose the black doll as the wicked one, the bad one. So this alone for me was enough to really show how important and how strong the media narrative is. What we show, the image you show, image and representation. So it is obvious that even somebody who's my color, a child, will think that his own color is a bad person. So that's perhaps in the discussion or in the interview, I will come back to that. So the last question is, what is the present state of affairs in the Dutch media landscape, and what is good and what can be improved? I think since the Me Too movement and also the Black Lives Matters, we have seen a lot of changes going on. I've seen positive changes, that media is also taking people from different backgrounds into the media houses. Like even me, I profited from that, because 4 years ago now, I became a columnist, one of the Dutch biggest newspapers, Trouw. And all has to do with the movement of these Black Lives Matters. And they think, okay, we want to hear a different perspective. So let's ask Babah to come and be a columnist for us. I was asked. I didn't apply for it, so I was asked because of my books I've been writing, because of my critical messages I've been putting out. So I was asked to come and be a columnist, to change the narrative a bit. And I see what is happening. When I write those columns, sometimes I write about racism and discrimination and how we can come together. A lot of critics, when I write about racism, I get a lot of negative messages from readers. A lot of them. I don't read them, but if I read them, it makes me sick. We see sometimes that people are not ready, they're not prepared. So we have forced many people to rethink about racism and discrimination. So the news media is also doing its best. I'm part of the narrative now, at least one black person at a time. Not two, not three, because it's too much. So they can't take 2 black people to write, they will take 1. And that's me. So I'm there to cover the whole black race, the problems of the black people. It's a big load on my head. It's a big load on my head. So you see that, and I'm telling people, I say, when I leave as a columnist, which I don't want to do for long, because it's much of a hard work. Yes, it's really disgusting sometimes. And I want somebody also who look like me to come in and fill that position, because we need to be telling that story. We need to be telling the story, So these are the things I will stop for now because of time. Let me give my 4 of you the opportunity to come and fire me with questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Babah. Please have a seat. You said in the beginning of your lecture, you came to the Netherlands about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you feel at home here? And what makes you feel at home?
Well, of course, I feel at home a bit.
A bit?
Well, how can I say it? Because I always say the Netherlands is my fatherland. Mm-hmm. And Sierra Leone is my motherland. Mm-hmm. And people say, but fatherland, motherland, why you say Holland is your fatherland? Because there is a Latin word, they say, ubi beni, ubi patrai. Where things are good for you, it's your father's land. Yeah? Things are good for me in Holland. I got my job here, I did my studies here, I'm working, I'm paying my taxes, getting a good life. So it's my fatherland. When things are difficult, you go back to your motherland. And I call Sierra Leone my motherland because that's the place where my umbilical cord, we call in Dutch navelstreng, that's the place it is buried. So where it is buried is your motherland. And here is my fatherland because things are going well with me. So in one way or the other, I feel at home in Holland. The difference between Sierra Leone, I was in Sierra Leone 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. When I come to Sierra Leone, I disappear. The massa. You understand that feeling? You come somewhere and disappear. Nobody knows you, except when you open your mouth to speak. And they know, oh, this guy speaks differently, or But they just see you as part of them, because you come into a group of people where you all look alike. So you disappear. And that disappearance, I love it. Because in Holland, I don't disappear. They see me as that exotic black man, who is working there. So I have the feeling that everybody is seeing me.
Yes.
And sometimes I would just want to hide and disappear.
Sure. I think you said in one interview that where you are living now, you have this feeling a little bit
Yes.
of, just blending in.
Yes. I moved from a majority white neighborhood to a place they call Lombok in Utrecht. Around Lombok, it's more multicultural. Moroccans, Turkish, and Africans, we are all mixed there. So now I'm there, and we are all the same, because we have something we share the basic of humanity in terms of where we come from, the struggles we come from. So we can understand each other. I think there are not many. The black people in the hall will notice that when black people meet each other, we do what we call the black nod. We don't know each other, but we just make like this. And some people ask me, "But do you know him?" I say, "No." But why are you nodding to each other? I say, "Yes, we share something, and it is deep. That's something we share. It's a struggle against majority rule, against majority of." Against colonialism, slavery. So we have this history of struggle which we share.
Yes.
So that's why we say, So Lombok has been very nice to me because that's the place we greet each other. We talk to each other. And before I came, my car had a breakdown. The Moroccan neighbor was standing talking to me, trying to help me. So we have that connection. So that makes me feel at home. But when I was in the other neighborhood, I had my ex-wife. We took 2 daughters. I was the only black person in that neighborhood. And even some of the neighbors were saying that house was not bought by us. It was given to us by the municipality. We bought the house. But they were saying that the house, this guy, black guy, and that's because my ex is a white lady. So they thought we didn't buy the house.
I see.
Yes, they thought we got it from the community because that's a nice house. They can't afford it. And one time, my neighbor was also coming with his dog, and the guy stopped close to me. I was working on my laptop, writing my stories. He didn't know that I'm a writer. He didn't know that I'm a journalist. So he said to me, "Hey, I see you all the time sitting here, Babah." He said, "Don't you have a job? Don't you go and work?" Then I said to him, I was forced at that time, because mostly I want to be modest. I don't want to see what I do. But I was forced to go in my house and take my books to come and say, "Look, I'm a writer." And he was very surprised. He was looking at me. I said, "I write stories." And the other time he told me that he has a dog, and he told me that his dogs always backed on foreigners.
Oh, really?
Yes. Then I told him, it was a very, he passed now, the man, but he told me that his dogs always backed on foreigners. And I told him, I said, "Your dog is feeling your fear." Yes. That dog is not backing for nothing. Because of your fear, that's why the dog is backing. So if you change your fear, that dog will not back.
And probably the dog barking will feed his fear.
Yeah.
Again. So you'll have the circle. Yes.
Yep.
Let me invite Dejanique Petronilia, who's also going to ask you a question about feeling at home. There you go.
Does this work? Yes? Okay.
Does work.
Do you need to take a sip before?
Huh?
You need to take a sip before I begin with the question?
Just that.
Okay. So coming back to your first point or question that you made, you said about the terms diversity and inclusion, and that inclusion always comes first. I come myself from an island, Curaçao, so I'm going to share more like a personal story with you. To me, we are, you can say, a multicultural environment where you have different nationalities, and in my perspective, we are very inclusive to other nationalities. But however, when I came to the Netherlands 3 years ago, I got the feeling that I experience here more diversity than inclusion. I only feel included when I can speak my own language around my friends, or when I see someone that I know, like a bus driver that also speak my language. But when I'm at work or professional context, I feel more like the diversity part. My question is, do you also feel this, or did you also experience this coming from Sierra Leone to here? So do you also see the difference between there and here regarding the diversity and inclusion?
Very good question. Definitely. And what you feel like, I tell people most of the time that I feel more at home in Utrecht. I feel more at home in Utrecht than in Netherlands. Yes, I'm a Utrechtener. Yes, but not. I don't feel more like a Dutch. But that Utrecht, that my neighborhood, that area, I feel at home there. But if I go to Maastricht or to Friesland, perhaps I will feel less at home. You know, so from Sierra Leone, we have inclusion because we tolerate each other, we accept each other. We have the spirit of Ubuntu, which I will talk on later. I am because you are. That you can only be a human being when you accept that other people are human beings. That is the first phase when we meet each other. You have to see me as a human being. And if you don't see me as a human being, then your humanity is also in question. It's also questioned. So, like going back to slavery, they could only do slavery when they decided to say the black people are not human beings. That's when slavery could start, really, because the church will not accept to do slavery except if they say black people are not human beings. Then the church gave acceptance to do slavery. So humanity is very important. So from my perspective, from Sierra Leone, we have this inclusion of, and of course we have tribes, which makes us a bit also tribal in terms of, like I'm from the Mandingo tribe. So when I speak Mandingo to somebody, that person is also a brother, a family member. Like my last name, Tarawally, in French is Traoré. Like the Koromas, in French, they say Kroma. So these are all names that goes in whole of West Africa. We share that tradition and names. So when a Tarawally comes to my village, he doesn't need a hotel. He will just go to the Tarawally house. It's there. You come there and you sleep there. You have food, everything. Because you are Tarawally, we see you as a family. So this is how we practice inclusion also. And when I came to Holland, then it's the first time in my life that I noticed that the color of my skin is problematic. Before I never had that feeling. Of course, I came from a place where we all look alike. So coming here and I feel for the first time that I'm different. And I had my own struggle with that. And my last book, Gevangen is What We Denken, Trapped in Black-White Thinking, and how we can escape black-white thinking. I wrote about that experience, that book. I really wish in the future that will be translated into English so that people who read English can get to know it. So coming back to your question, inclusion, we still have to work on it. Diversity, we are diverse. We have more than 186 nationalities in Holland. 186, more than that. In Amsterdam, it's 175, I think. So we have more nationalities here, diverse. But inclusion, we have to work on that.
I agree. I have another question because you mentioned the black and white thinking. So can you say then that because you were in the asylum center that you can share that you are all included because you are refugees and because, for example, you mentioned that people demonstrated against you guys, that you felt that that's the part of where diversity comes in then?
Yeah. When I came to Holland, I changed asylum centers more than 4 times. From The Hague to Cham, that is between Breda and Tilburg, and then to Drachten, to Groningen. So I was moved from place to place. So like in Drachten, we as refugees, we feel a bond together because we have the same story, the same background, problem, and struggle. So when we walk in town, we walk in groups. And the Dutch are not used to working in groups. So when we walk like 6, 7 men, then it is a threat to people coming towards 6 men. So it even happened in Holland when you see the hooligans. Even me, I get scared because they are in their element at that moment. So I go the other way around because I think I don't need trouble with these people. So I could understand when I came to Drachten, when we walked to the supermarket, we walked like 6, 7 men, then we became a threat to the people there because they're not used to that. And so diversity was also a problem there. So I decided because there was a division between the we and them. There was a big division between we and them. So how to close that gap between we and them? So I started my own phase of getting to know the Drachteners. I took the first step to meet them because they are scared of me. So I need to show myself that I'm not a scary person. So,
and how did you take that first step?
Yes.
What was it?
First of all, I knew that religion is very important to many people there, and religion is also a way of bonding. So even though I was a Muslim, I decided to go to the church because the church, they embrace me when I go to the church. They embrace me. So every Sunday, they come to the Asylum Center to get me to go to the church. And after the church, one family is ready to take me to their homes. I go to their homes, eat with their kids, play, learn the Dutch tradition. It was very easy for me to, I learned the Dutch tradition, Dutch words, and they were very much concerned about me, helping me to take steps. Then I knew also that sports, football makes people come together. So I joined a football club. They called Drasta Boys. I joined them and we were playing football together, and all this, my age group, they came to know me and they liked me, so I got noticed. I got friends. Then the last one was a volleyball. I used to play volleyball also. These were older people, like uncles. I joined them to play, and I was very much good in volleyball. So they took me every week to those villages in Friesland. We play, and most of the time when I'm playing there, I have my own fans. People come to... because we used to wear very short, and I didn't like it, but very short trousers, and then we stand there, and so people were, okay, yeah, people come there to clap, and then, because I was the only black person in the team. So this is the way I did it. And these people, like the uncles from the volleyball, they take me every month, end of the month, we go to ski Monaco in the island. We take like 2 days there. And they paid everything for me. We played there together, and I learned the language very fast. And before you know, I was now part of the drag team. I was no more part of the asylum centers. They were even saying, Baba, how do you know these people? When we go to the streets and people are saying, Baba, hey, Baba. Hey. And they say, I know them. I say, I know them. Yes, they know me. So I got known by the people, and that gave me a feeling of I've been accepted by these people.
Yeah, I think I also hear a difference between when you talk about your negative experiences. It's mostly groups. I mean, don't mean you being sick, but I mean, the Dutch society or white people, and then the way out is maybe just the individual contact and making friends with just individual people.
Yeah.
Would you say that also?
I don't get the question.
Well, because Dejanique was asking that, do you feel inclusion with people who have gone through the same procedure, or have somehow the similar background as yourself? And you said, I do, but you also need to step out of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was included with them, with my fellow asylum seekers, and we had the same story. But when I moved out, and I knew the Dutch people also, I got to make friends with them. They saw me also as somebody who is a bit a zebra.
Stripes.
Black and white, he's there, mixing there and here. So I was a bit in between, because I had also found a family of people who believe in me, who trust me. And when I finished my first opleiding, my first study in Groningen, I was alone with no family member. So all the Dutch kids, they all have their family came with flowers. I was standing there alone until Rob and Martin, these were Dutch from the volleyball, they came with a big flower for me. So that made my day because I saw them coming. I got tears because I thought, I also belong.
Yes.
And that feeling of belonging is so important.
Yes, I think that answers your question.
Yes, I have another question because now you are more talking about us as people of color making the step. But what do you think people, I will say white people for now, I'm sorry if you feel offended, but white people can do for us to be included? Because I don't think it's only like we need to put in the effort. I think maybe it's both parts.
Yeah, surely right. I agree with you. It takes two to tango, as we say, right? So you can make steps and the other make steps. And that's why I was looking for people who make steps easily. I didn't look for people like people I know they don't like me, because then I have to struggle a lot to get involved. So I look for something that gives me energy, that gives us energy, both of us. So I always tell people, when you meet somebody you want to help, don't try to just help the person because you want to give the person food. Try to know what gives the person energy, what the person likes. The person likes football, you like football, you put the energy there, then you get connection very easily. So you are right. Like I give training to migrants. especially expats also working in companies like Accenture, Acadis, it's engineering, highly educated migrants, they work there. But sometimes there's a difference between the attitudes of the we and the I. You know, we come out mostly from the we society, where the we is very strong. And you come to an individual society where the individual responsibility is so important. Who are you? What do you do? What can you? You know, this is the first time when I came to Holland, I was so asked, what is me? That I start to research myself. Before, I never thought of me because my father, my uncles, my aunties, they are there. They are, the CV of my father is my CV. The CV of my grandfather is my CV. So I only need to show them my name and where I come from and my family is enough. So here I need to do more. So what we do is that when I train these people, I also train the workers, the Dutch people also, about cultural differences and how to bridge that gap, how to make the gap smaller, you know, how to meet each other. Because we have a lot of differences, especially Africans. Like many Africans, when they talk to you, they don't look into your eyes. And for the Dutch people, they think you are hiding something. You're not telling the truth. You know, you're not to be believed because you don't look into the eyes. But it's our culture because looking into the eyes is disrespect. If I look into my father's eye, talking to him, he gets annoyed. He say, what is it? Are you angry with me? But in Holland, it's very good to look into the eyes when you make connection. Simple things. When you give a hand, you give a strong handshake. You stand like this and give a handshake and you laugh a bit. You know? And in my culture, it was different. You don't need to give a strong, very strong handshake. You know? Most of our people also give very light handshake. And in Holland, when you do that, they say you don't have ruggengraat. You're not strong. That can even cost you not getting a job. You know? So there's a lot of differences we need to understand from both sides.
I agree. Thank you for your response.
And thank you for your questions.
I'm looking at the audience now. Are there any questions? If you do, please raise your hand and one of my colleagues will come with a microphone so everybody can hear what you are asking. Yes, sir. It's working.
Hi, thank you very much and very nice talk. I want to follow up on what the young lady said because I've been in this business for so long. I'm retired now. I got exhausted of doing it. The point she made about are we the only people responsible for working on this issue? Because I was in Oslo and I had dinner in a restaurant and a Tunisian waiter, we just started to chat. And he just, when we chatted and then he walked away and he said, I don't understand. They come and destroy our country and then they won't let us into their country. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm asking, like the young lady. Why do we have to always be the one to do it? I mean, white people here, what responsibilities do you have to solve this problem? And especially in light of the improvements made since George Floyd in the media. I'm a former journalist and a diplomat, and I've been on it for years, and it doesn't get better. And especially now, I'm even more disillusioned after the Ukrainian situation. Thank you.
Yeah, it is very clear. And more questions?
No, please.
It's very clear, and this is something which I'm working on. You know, I give training on Ubuntu philosophy, and I get a lot of Dutch people who come to my seminars and readings to really show that humanity, that we should go back to humanity. Let's feel that we are humans. I am because you are, that we are connected, that in any way we are connected. Just a small example, like I go to the gym, then I go to the kleedkamer, to the dressing room. I meet people there. I always greet people. Hello, how are you? And before I dress up. Some people never answer. They never greet you back. And I greet all the time, he never greets. So there's an older man I meet there. Anytime he never answers. So one time I met him, I said, Mister, we are alone, only two of us. I said, every time I come, I greet you. You never say hi. You never greet me back. You don't recognize my humanity. You don't say hi to me. And I greet you all the time. I said, no, why you do that? I said, suppose something happened with you. You have an heart attack. Heart attack here. What do you expect from me? You want me to help you, right? Because at that time, my humanity is necessary. You need me at that time to survive. So when I said that to him, he was just looking at me. I think I didn't wait for his answer because he got aware of it. Now when I greet him, he answers. I think it made him to think. We should not continue to put things right, to say it. That's why I started with, let's speak out. Everything starts with speaking out. And I think these last 3 years, many, many white Dutch people have seen and heard and know that we should come together to each other. Some will be much more late or not very willing. But when the majority are good people, the rest will follow. I believe in that. So let's have patience, I will say. And because for me, like I always say, all what I'm doing is for the next generation. Like you have done a lot of work for we to come and go into your shoes. And we are doing ours also. And I wish that's what my book was about, Gevangen is what we denken, trapped in black-white thinking. Because I wrote it also for my daughters. I have 2 daughters in this country. They were born here. This is their motherland. Not Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is their fatherland, where their father came from. This is their motherland. Here they should fight to get recognized, be themselves. So I want to create a situation wherein they will not get my trauma. Because we have what we call generational trauma. You give it to each other. So I want to break that cycle, that they have a life wherein they don't need to take my burden with them. So once more, thank you for that question, because it's precisely what she asked. But this is what we all have to work together on. And of course, there are politicians who are trying to break us apart, trying to divide us, and they are doing it, and they are getting good at it every time, and people are falling for it. This is my greatest fear. People are falling for it, and they are really good at it. So, and they call it democracy, and we have to deal with it. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to give the floor to Rona, because she's the director of the day office, and she also wants to comment, I think. It's now on. Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, our student, for asking those questions. And Babah, thank you and welcome into the space. I wanted to just say your Ubuntu statement, I am because you are. It's really beautiful that you said it. And in the start, you actually said that you unconsciously participated in the narrative of the refugee. And I'd just like to say to you, not fully. And it was beautiful to see, because although you recognized it, you went on and you displayed compassion for those refugees because of the context that you shared. And I think it comes back to, oftentimes you also ask the question, what is DEI? And sometimes it's hard to convey that it's not a topic. It's not a subject. It's really a lived feeling. And in the essence of everything that you said today and what you shared, I would say that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's kind of the message that we're trying to say. You bring it back to humanity. I'm here with my colleagues today, and we had 3 sessions, like 2 sessions earlier, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. And we really looked at how do we embed diversity, equity, and inclusion in the university. And one of the key themes we kept saying is that we're standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. And that's also evident here, and it's something that we always need to acknowledge in the space. So I really wanted to thank you for your presence and for the message that you're sharing. And it's a really beautiful note, I think, to end Diversity Day on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw more questions, but I'll keep you in mind for the next session, because I want to continue with the next student, so everybody can interview Babah. Thank you, Dejanique Petronilia. Janina van Loozen.
Yes. Does the microphone work?
Yes.
Hello. I have a question concerning diversity in media in the Netherlands. You already touched upon this topic. And I was wondering, what is your opinion on the diversity in Dutch newsrooms and Dutch news sources, generally concerning ethical diversity, but also religious diversity, gender diversity? Yeah, what is your opinion on that?
Thank you for the question. We have a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do. Let me just talk about the disparity when it comes to how the media works in Africa, in other countries, and how they work here. The ethics they have here is not the same ethics in other countries. I was with some journalists from Europe. We were in Ethiopia covering developmental issues. And we came to this hospital where people are having problems with their eyes, operations. And my European white colleagues, they entered this hospital without asking permission with their cameras. And the people were sick there and they putting, filming them without getting permission. I got annoyed because we don't do that in Holland. We ask permission. You cannot go and film people without asking their permission, and just film them and come and show it out because we think we have other rules there than here. And we also have rules when it comes to, like, for example, if you see a black criminal there's somebody who's black who was seen as a criminal or he committed some problems, they always mention his name, the color of his skin. But when it happens to a white person, we don't hear that. So you see disparity. And we also have, the choices you make in the newsroom. For example, I always focus on people who are generational mates, people who are born the same period of time, like in 3-4 years. Like for we Africans, normally we don't ask, how old are you? We just know we are in the same generation. That is enough. Because there's 2 years difference, 3 years difference, we're in the same generation. So in Holland also, we have generation people who we are watching the same news 30, 40 years ago. Their children, they are watching the same news and everything. And so they have the same background of knowledge. So when they're in the newsroom, when they come to the newsroom together, what do you expect? They all have the same way of thinking. And that's the reason why diversity is very important. Because then you bring somebody from who did not have that experience. Then you have a balance. If you are 30 years ago and you have somebody from 20 years ago, this person 20 years ago has a different way of looking at it because they have a generational time gap, that they had some things that happened that makes them remember. So they have a different way of approach. So to come back to your question, the Dutch media need to really be conscious, be much more conscious. And when they use me, they should not be only using me as a black person to only talk about racism and discrimination. Because that's what I feel also. I'm a columnist, but they always ask me, you write about racism and discrimination. And I say, but hello. I want to write about flowers. I want to write about vacation. Like when I always say, when Dutch people are in the restaurant, when you hear them speaking, they speak about nice vacations, flowers he bought for his wife, and how the flower smells. But when black people are sitting together, we talk about struggles. We talk about we argue, we talk about things that is disturbing. So sometimes I say, I just want to talk about issues. I want to write about simple stories. Not always talking about those big themes. But that is as if I'm being sentenced to that, to only write about those things. So if they bring somebody to the media, if they want to be inclusive, let the person also be free to choose the type of topic he or she wants to talk about. Then you have inclusion. So, but there are positive things happening now because we see a lot of advertisement also using black people, right? We see that on the board. Before, no. And now, when I came to Holland, when I go clubbing, I never hear African music. But now when you go to the clubs, Afrobeat is everywhere. Thanks to the Nigerians. They bring Afrobeat, they give Afrobeat as gift to the world. So we are changing, we are evolving. But we need to be conscious. So that's why when I was asked to come here, I said, yes, I will come, because it doesn't matter the small thing we exchange here. It helps you further. It helps you to think differently. You always say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Babah came to our place and he spoke. That remains. And I've been working on this for long. Like, even when I came to Holland, I go to tell stories to schools about diversity and inclusion. I've been doing it for long. And I'm hoping that people get more awareness. So I don't know whether I've answered your question well.
Yes, definitely. I would just like to follow up on that. Considering you already mentioned a little bit about this, you were asked to write stories about racism specifically. So how important do you think that it is, or how important do you think the personal background of a journalist, a writer is when writing a story? Do you think it always needs to match the story itself?
No. Because we all have a different point of departure. We all have different interests. Of course, people should be free to write about, we should have what we call in Dutch bondgenoot, coalition. We have white people who are supporting black activities, black activism. They also have the space to talk about it. And sometimes it even helps, when some white people also stand up for our cause. The only thing I say, they should not stand in front of us, side by us, or at the back, but not in front. But they too should be able to talk about these issues. So I don't feel like when we have a lot of columnists, if I'm the one always talking about racism and discrimination, and the rest, they are talking about flowers, talking about other nice vacation. So we as if what I'm talking about is not their own problem. So I believe that we all have a shared value. We should create that shared value, to make the world better. And we have that obligation, all of us. So it doesn't matter, and they should not use it because you are Italian or because you are this to say, okay, you only talk about the mafia. Because that is what the negatives talk about Italians. Okay, mafia. You talk about the mafia because you are from Italy. No. So we should all be able to be free to make our choices of items we want to talk about.
And I think your question is very interesting because it touches upon the question what diversity is about. Is it about identity or is it about content? For example, you said Italy, we just had a program on the elections in Italy. There were two people who study populism in Italy, but there was not somebody from Italy speaking about his or her personal experience. What do you think? Do you always need somebody who identifies with the subject to speak on it, or is it also enough if you know a lot about? So if you have a lot of knowledge about a topic.
This is a very important question because we also have it in the black activism. It's our story. Other person should not talk about it. I have a problem with that. The thing is that I believe that when you speak from experience, it's different from when you speak from knowledge, theory. Most of my sessions are about my personal experience, and nobody can take it from me because nobody can deny me my personal experience. If I say I felt this, you cannot say no, it's not true. You didn't feel it. You are just overdriving. You overdrived. You are exaggerating. These are something that is also very painful. So we should make a difference between somebody talking from an expertise, the person studied for it, and somebody talking from personal experience. You cannot talk for a black person's personal experience. Say, yes, I feel also, So let's make a difference from that. So people's experience, their experience. Talk from your knowledge, studies, and talk with statistics. Nobody can deny you on statistics because you study for it. But when it's not your cause, it didn't happen to you, then you want to claim that, then you have a conflict. Because it didn't happen to you. It is a complicated question, and I'm trying my best to see if I can give an answer to it.
I don't think there is one answer. Just asking for your ideas. Because I think, especially in university, and I think a lot of students also will know this, not a problem, but the question that is a topic. If you want to, now let's make it very concrete. If we want to talk about Islam, can people talk about Islam who are not Muslims?
Of course, you can talk about Islam on knowledge based. You made a research on it. You can produce those research. But when your opinion is being put into that research, then you have problem.
Yes.
So you should really try to see when you present fact and opinion, we should have a balance in that, especially in academia, because like I always tell people that there's this white guy they call Bram Posthumus. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's a Dutch man, Bram Posthumus. He's a Dutch man, but he knows African music more than any African I've ever met. The man has studied all the musicians in Africa. He knows where they were born and how they grew up, and he knows all the... So when he speaks to me, he's speaking from authority. I don't see his color of his, because this guy, when I speak to him, I get knowledge.
Yes.
He tells about Mali, about the Timbuktu, the music that is played there. So when the guy is talking, I am an African, but he knows more about African music than I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's also possible because many Dutch people I know, they are very when they bite into something, they bite into it until the dips. They can really go into it, and so he's talking from knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I have respect for that. But he cannot tell me, Baba, your Madingo music here is not a good one, because I know that this other one is good.
Mm-hmm.
That is not. Then he's not talking about knowledge anymore, because then he's talking about his opinion.
Yeah.
Talking negative about my own music, saying that my music is not good, because he thinks that no. Then we have a discussion.
Yes.
We have a problem.
Yeah.
So let's have a good separation when it comes to knowledge, opinion, and experiences.
Yeah.
Is there time for one more question?
A short one.
Okay. So I was also wondering, because social media is becoming more and more important as a source for news, how do you see that social media has changed the notion of diversity and inclusion?
Wow. Social media.
Maybe not so sure.
No, well, the thing is that I can write a book about this topic, because social media has brought a lot of good to the world, but it has also brought a lot of bad things to this world. So there is, sometimes I don't know where to begin, because what social media has given us is that feeling that we are all important. We are all small prophets. Before you have few people who talk, like before you have Nelson Mandela, you have Martin Luther King, you have for black people who talk on our behalf. But now, influencers, you have people who have their TikTok. They all have a page, and everybody has the feeling that you are important, you have a voice, which is important, that we all have a voice. So when I try to see the advantage of social media, that's why I said in my speech that we should not only depend on the traditional mainstream media. We should use our voices also through social media to talk about things that are relevant. I don't know whether that is enough for now, but the thing is that if I say I'm going deeper into it, because social media, like now, I have the feeling, but this is something you can say, Baba, you're not right. Just you can say no. I disagree with you. I have 2 daughters, and they go to sport. Yeah, and my elder daughter will tell me she's very good in athletic, but she's not using her capacity 100%. She used like 40% of her capacity. She tells me it's not about winning; it's about taking part. So that's what they taught them. They say it's not about winning. So she's always trying to beat her own PR, personal record. He said, I don't want to be the first. I just want to make sure that my personal record has been improved. For me, it's a generational issue. I was thinking, I want to be the best. When I was in school, I want to be the best. But no, she said, no, I just want to participate. So that is what has also been the educational system now in Holland. Kids just think everybody should promote, because nobody should leave behind. And that is different from my own time when I was in school. We are very competitive, but that competition has gone. And social media has made it easier for them to think that they can get rich very easily.
Yes.
So I'm trying to tell them also, I say, listen, this is not the way to, they think they can just be influencers and make money. How much this person make, So I think this is the negative side of it. And then I told them, I said, in my time, we have lots of sports people who break records. But the last 10 years, I'm not seeing record breaking anymore. People are not breaking records. They just, so I'm seeing that people are just being very happy with what, and so this is my own personal story with them, because I feel frustrated when I know that she can do better. Like, she was doing a marathon with her friends, and she's not running faster. She's not marathon, as we are running. Okay. Marathon. And she doesn't want to come first, so she was running with her friends. And I'm standing there clapping, run. And later she told me, I was with my friends, I don't want to go fast. So don't want to leave them behind.
It's very social. It's not media, but it's very social.
Very social, but then I tell her, you want me every Saturday weekend to go to the field with you, to wake up early in the morning, to take you to the field just to go and... If you are telling me that you want to be an Olympic champion, then we are working on that, then I can be motivated. But I take you to this field every weekend just for you to go and play with those friends of you. And
you think social media has brought this change?
Yes, I believe that. I believe that they have the feeling of things are so easy nowadays, and this is also going to affect the work ethos in the future, because nobody wants to work for a boss. We all want to be freelance. We all want to be a freelance. Nobody wants to work for anybody. So this is the future. You will not get people again working for, no, everybody wants to be on its own. So you hire people in, and they come and do their things and they go. So we are heading towards a new era and dimension of how we interact and how social media created that. I can sit at home, look what happened in the Corona. We went to Zoom, we can sit from far, and now nobody wants to go to the office. So there are good things on it.
Yes.
And there are bad things on it. So it's what you choose. And I think for media, we can do more if we decide to take a topic and chew it and make it our own. Because that's one of the advice I would like to give to you also. When you want to meet, you can be into this inclusion and diversified group, but how will you make yourself unique? What is your unique selling point? What topic do you want to talk on? You want to change to the world for the better? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want to be? What do you want to make your own core value? What do you want to work on? Which topic? You want to fight against poverty, sicknesses, injustices. Take that topic, work on it, and make it yours. Then that's how you make yourself different from other people.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you to Nina van Loosen. Oh, you can sit. So I know there was a question in the front. Do you still have it? Yeah. Good. Then my colleague will come with the microphone.
Okay, is it on? Yeah, okay, it is on. Okay, I had a question regarding the previous topic, but I also think it relates to this topic. With regard to your own experience, and also with the question that the mister in the back asked you about our obligation or what we can do to help you feel more included, and also actually include people from other cultures and backgrounds. Based on your own experience, as you explained when you came to the Netherlands, do you think that it is possible to make a more inclusive environment in the Netherlands based on only persons, the people in the Netherlands, or is the media, and then I mean the mainstream media, is it such a crucial factor that we cannot get to the point of inclusion without that type of media?
Wow, yeah. Good question. I spoke about it. The media has, especially the mainstream traditional media, they still have power, even though social media is breaking those power into pieces a bit. Because what social media is doing, and it's also taking away from the traditional media, making them irrelevant. We have to make them irrelevant. If it means I have to lose my own job, but we have to make them irrelevant in some way, because they still have big power, those media houses. And it depends on what is their political orientation. For example, if you have the Telegraph, they are very powerful. And they are just there to polarize. I'm sorry if somebody's having a subscription for the Telegraph. When I came to Holland, I used to work for them as a krantenbezorger. I used to distribute newspapers for Telegraph. But I didn't even know what they were writing about at that time. So I was distributing it without knowing. But if you read the newspaper Telegraph, you see how polarized they are. And they do it very consciously. They are doing it to reach certain people. So we have to reject that. We have to reject that.
But I think social media is maybe even more polarized.
Well, it is polarized in the sense that these are individuals who are diverse. So we all have, a role to play.
Yes.
Where you are right in is that social media, people with bigger mouth and more abusive, they get the stage. And that is the reason why on my Facebook, when you come with that, I will just block you, take you out. I'm not going to discuss with you if that's what you're coming for. So we have people who have the biggest voice and the biggest, vuvuzela, they blow, and they got hard. And that's the ones the traditional media is taking out. Those toxic ones. They take them to give them more space. So what they are doing, they are giving spaces to people who they think they can give us that shocking effect. And what is happening now, like in my neighborhood in Utrecht, Lombok, a lot of Turkish, Moroccan, or other nationalities, Africans, they're not watching the Dutch media anymore, the Dutch television. They have the satellite on their houses. And they have senders from their own countries, from other countries in the world. Those are the media they look. They don't look into the Dutch media. And that is creating a problem. Because people are living here, but they're not even watching the Dutch news. Because they don't like what they are seeing. And you cannot react when you're angry on the television. Like here, if I say something bad, you guys can react on me. But in the television, you only have to absorb. Even the negative things, you have to listen to it. So people are getting tired of it, and they are diverting. So we as citizens, we have a role to play. We can reject, because they are all based on membership. They're all based on membership. So like now, I became a member of the Zwart television station of Akwasi, because I want a different voice to be heard. And what happened when Akwasi came there, another guy who came at the ON, there's a news sender also which is very polarized, went there as a taken pool, to make the fight more heavy. So we have a big problem when it comes to that. And I agree with you that this is something which is very polarizing. And but we, the citizens, we can make a choice. We can make a difference. And we can only make a difference by rejecting those type of information, those type of media, rejecting them. I don't know whether this is enough, but thank you very much.
Yes, I want to move on to the third student because, of course, she also has her time. Thank you, Nina van Loozen, and welcome to Hilda Ouraaha. Hi, Hilda. Welcome.
Hello. My question is about, I read the book, the one that you talked about, the black and black-white thinking. And there you talked about when you just arrived in the Netherlands at the airport, you were like with the whole group in one hall. And then you said that the other people, like from Middle Eastern, I think they were given priority, like when going out to an asylum or getting a residence permit over the other group. Do you still see this? To what extent do you still see this happening nowadays in the Dutch society?
Oh, definitely. Thank you very much for reading my book, because I think, I don't know how many people have read it, but yes, I wrote about it. And that was in 20-something years ago that we came, and that's when I found out that divide and rule has been a system of colonialism, to divide and rule, to give certain group priority and then to give the other ones no priority, and to give this group subsidy, and the other ones, they don't give the subsidy. After 2 years, they stop the subsidy, they give the other group. So they create this balance of, how we call it, people against each other. Yeah? So when I came here, like there's a passage in my book, we were in Schiphol. We were in this place where they put us because we came to ask for asylum from Sierra Leone, Nigeria, other countries, and a lot of people from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. So we had the feeling that there was also discrimination and racism within.
In the sense that?
Huh?
In which sense?
In which sense of, like I talk about one which was very shocking because for some people from Iraq at that time, it's the first time they were getting they are seeing a black person, and they had another mentality about it because when we go to the toilet, for example, I was in the line to go to the toilet, and they have 2 toilets, and I went into one, and I came out. The line was long waiting in the morning, and nobody entered to that toilet where I was. So I made a point about it. I said, it's
free.
You guys, this is free. Nobody's going there. You know? And I was also a bit shocked. And but when we come to the asylum center also, people from Iraq at that time, they were getting status very easily. And people from Africa, no. So we felt also that we have been discriminated and our stories, our experiences have been neglected. So we felt imbalance in the way justice is being played. And that is also what I talk about Ukraine. You know, I understand the Ukraine problem. I knew how it is to go under war and run away from bullets and fighting and destruction. So I can feel their pain. But when it comes to that, how we decided to give them open arm and accept them, I wish I was also accepted like that because I took 7 years to get my papers. 7 years, not 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 good years before I got my paper. So I really struggled, have to prove myself. They will say, no, we don't believe you, we don't believe where you come from, we don't believe your country. So, and then it's getting easier for other people. So it creates also that dimension of mistrust. You know?
Yeah. I totally understand. And I already also thought something like that. And when it comes to the media, do you think that these groups that are also like the minority groups, but that you can see from their like from their skin color, for example, do you think they're also nowadays represented in the Dutch media, or is it more the people that are like clearly have a different color are like being more present now in the media?
The thing is that there are few people who they take to be in the media, but the problem I have with it is that like they would take somebody from Iran, for example, and then no other person from Arab country, because we have one Iran. But Iran is Persian, it's not Arab. So sometimes they forget that. And they look at nationality and color and say we want representation just to fill in the checklist. And that is what we should take a distance from. You know, at least get qualified people, or, you know, and don't just think about that. And I want to mention something, because sometimes when you only use checklist, it's also a disservice and injustice to the group. Because black is not a uniform. You know, it's not a uniform. We can be black people, all of us, but we have also different ideologies, different point of departure. So I cannot speak for all black people. So what I do is that I try to listen to the pains in the community. Even if it's not my pain, I use that pain to show the white dominant group that this is what is happening in the society. Most of the things I write about did not happen to me, but happened to a friend, somebody I know, his or her situation, and I bring it out. You know. So when you, as a minority, you are put into that position, it's not only what you are that you're going to represent. Make sure you have a broader base. Not only like now what is happening in Iran. I was arguing with a friend of mine who is an activist. I said I was expecting Black Lives Matter also to stand for this. So this is all our problems. You know? I am in favor of a bigger civil rights movement, which involves different people. Because that is what makes success. That is what makes a lot of stronger impact. Like the Black Lives Matter, when we were there, the demonstrations, every color, white, black. In fact, white people were more than black people in Utrecht when it came to Black Lives Matter demonstration in Utrecht, you know, which was very strong. It's a very strong statement to the government, and that's why they become scared, you know. So I would really want us to have a civil rights movement against injustice. This is what I will favor, because what we see also that's a lot of minorities also when you've been exposed to a lot of pain that sometimes you become very aggressive in the way you bring out your information. Because we have few black people who they have put in certain positions to talk on our behalf. And the whole country is hitting on them all the time. So we need more stories, not human beings, but we need more stories, more diverse stories than representative of human beings of colors representing us.
And I think that's very interesting because I think your question was very interesting because you also asked that if we try, or if the media tries to become more diverse, is it not too superficial in the way we do it? Let's say, okay, so you are black, everybody can see, so you are. We are encouraging diversity because we ask a black person, and then okay, let's invite somebody with a headscarf because you can also see that this person is part of a diverse community. And I think you said, well, there are a lot of people who have a different cultural background, but you don't see it at once, and maybe they get not so much attention in media because they don't stand out in some visible way.
It's true because I even have a friend from Pakistan. No, not Pakistan, Palestine. She's very angry that black people are getting more attention than the Palestinian issue. And I told her, you are true. It's true that the attention is not on black people more, you know. And so the thing is that it's good for us also in the media to recognize that not only our own injustice, but the injustice of the other. Because every injustice has to do with other injustices. You see? So when you are you have a scarf, they take you to a media house, don't only write about Islam. Try to watch broader injustices in the world and talk about them. You know, when you do that, you are at service to a bigger community. If you don't do that, it's a disservice. You know, so that will only be my advice. When you are in the media and you are taking for certain, make it broader. Make it broader.
Yeah. Did you have an idea yourself of how this could be improved?
Yeah, I don't think it's possible that like every single group get like this person in the media. But what Babah just said, like I think that one person, like when he's representing like a group, to see like more than only what this person is himself or she-self is, like to cover more than not everything, but at most as this person can, for like a bigger group. But yeah, I think if I knew the answer, then
you wouldn't be sitting here. You would be in the in the Tweede Kamer. Yeah, but maybe you will be in a couple of years. Yeah. Okay, we have 6. I'm very Dutch, so we'll really stop here at 9:30. So we have room for more questions. Ooh, a lot of fingers now. I'll start with you on the 3rd row from here. My colleague is coming.
Hi, thank you so much for the talk. I wanted to ask sort of a question / commentary to pick a bit on what you think about that. Something that ran for me through the whole conversation that we have had is how we still are talking about diversity in the media as in the service of or a means for white people, as opposed to diversity in the media also in the service of underrepresented communities. Because I think I come from Mexico, and I think that, for example, the lack of diversity in the media in my own country is a tool for reproducing colonial principles, also a way for intergenerational acceptance of these hierarchies, and all of that leads to some form of white aspirationism in many generations and in many countries that could improve with diversity as a tool for community building, proud in your heritage, proud in your roots. So I don't know what you think about it. I mean, it's likely a bit detached perhaps from the Netherlands, but maybe not, because also Netherlands has such a huge colonial history. So I don't know what you think about it, because I think we've been speaking a lot of diversity as something that it's for convincing white people. Well, I think that we should also benefit of diversity as a means for building community and as a means for us, underrepresented community. So I don't know.
Definitely. I will give an example with Arcadis and Accenture when we brought 25 participants of highly educated migrants, refugees who got a chance to have a course with Arcadis. I was giving the soft skills, and Arcadis gives the hard skills. And then at the end of the 12 weeks training, 5 of them were choosing to work with Arcadis. So we spoke about that. So what is the added value of these people to this company? That's when I knew how much Arcadis was going to profit from these 5 people. They had so much to give. So much to give. In fact, somewhere even they had their CVs were so strong that even the directors got scared of them. Yeah. They got scared of them because they came from places where they have worked, experience. And so we made what we call mentorship. And so every one of them got somebody to mentor. And these people learned a lot from them. And they are still learning. They have developed. So let's see diversity as an added value of our communities. Instead of saying we just want to make a checklist. So if you only want a checklist so that you get subsidy and say, I have a black person, I have somebody from Mexico, from Iran in my company, you're making a mistake. Diversity should be something we use to strengthen our communities for the future. Because we know that homogeneous way of doing things will never work. An example is, Holland, based on what we call familiebedrijven, family businesses. That's how Holland was. Philips, all these Heineken, they were all small families. Yeah? So, with that small family, you only stay like that, small. So when it became bigger, they break from that family bedrijf. That's why they became multinationals. Because they allowed other families to enter into the business. Before it was only brother and sister and that's the family. So it becomes very small. But when they want to jump to become multinational, they need to involve others. That is diversity. Because they bring in new brains, new thinkers, new experiences, which made it better. So my advice to companies, my advice to communities, don't use diversity, just like you said. Just don't use it just for checklists for yourself, but use it that it is going to be a powerful tool, that will help us to take steps to grow. Is that okay? For now?
I have time for one more last question. You on the first row.
Yes, thank you. You talked in the beginning about a dual experiment, and it made me really think about a British television program where an episode called A School That Tried to End Racism, where a child was taught about the cycle of oppression. And he really took this with him and tried to explain to his mum about this concept. And she told him, well, you are being checked at a grocery store if you stole something because of history, because of the past, because of things happening. And this is exactly how the cycle of oppression really works, because she tried to explain to him that it is normal and it is just because of history and because it has been happening that way. And my question is, and one of the organizers actually recognized, she told that you really recognize your position in this cycle, but what does it take to recognize that? And how does one get to that point? And where should someone start to reflect on their own position in the cycle of oppression, where you view someone within your own minority community with the stereotypes and prejudices that you've been brought up with? So how do you think that you came to a point, and what should we take from that?
Wow. Yeah, this is a very good one. And you are asking me now how I came to my position where I am.
Yeah, how did you recognize your position within the cycle of oppression?
Yeah. It's a good one because, when I came, I think I think I was much more different from other asylum seekers in my group, because I recognize things very easily. It's also based on character and the type of family you came from and how. So we are all not the same. I always say these fingers are not the same, but they all belong to one hand. Yeah? So they are not equal, but they belong to one. So that feeling of that my injustice that happens to me can happen to any other person. That if I don't do something about it, it might come back to me. Because in the Ubuntu philosophy, we always say it is built on three pillars. 3 pillars. You have what we call the unborn, you have the living, and you have the living dead. These are the 3 intertwined. So the unborn comes to the living to the living dead. Because we don't say the dead, we say the living dead, because they are also part of the circle. They come back as unborn, and they come back as living, and then they go back. So we are in a circle. Yeah? So that concept is something that helps me greatly to believe that we are intertwined. Anything we do, we are connected. So because if we don't take care of the climate, we don't take care of the world, when we go, we are coming back to meet a more devastated world. So, and that has helped me as a groundwork of my philosophy to really believe that everything I do has consequences. So, asking me the question when I realized that, it is a long story because I was brought up with a grandmother who was much more into Ubuntu and who really guided me and gave me a lot of stories and body to believe that we are connected, that sharing and caring is very important. So when I see injustice done elsewhere, it touches me. It touches me because then I think we have to act. Because, for example, George Floyd, if that girl did not film, nothing should have happened. That guy should have just died and we forget about it. Nobody knows what happened. Because we have to take a role. If you don't talk, film it. If you see something happening that you don't like, if you have your camera, you film. You share it. You take it, or you say something about it. Or if you don't say something about it because of fear, do something. For me, I cannot sleep at night if I see something injustice being done. I go home, I can't sleep because I should have done something. And it will really touch me. Recently, I was with a friend, we went to a club, and we are not allowed to enter. And I asked the portiers, the bodyguard, I said, why we should not enter? Then he said, to be honest with you, my boss does not want black people here, inside. He didn't know that I'm a journalist. I told him, is this what you're saying? Hey, he's a black guy. He was a black guy being put to that position to stop other black people. What we call the Uncle Toms in history of slavery. Using black people to put away other black people. So he said, I'm not discriminating. I'm not a racist. I'm a black person, so I cannot be a racist. But you are supporting a racist philosophy. You're bidding your boss work. So I said, but what you are saying, is that what you say? Yeah. He said, we only need couples inside. So 2 men cannot enter, only couples. Then I said, then I made a joke. I said, it's my friend, it's my partner. Then he said, no, here it's not for homosexuals. Please, you have to go. So it happens recently, about 5 months ago. So I wrote about it. I told him, I said, I'm a journalist and I write about this. He thought I'm joking. He didn't expect me to be a journalist. He thought I'm just lying. So I went and wrote an article about it. We went to the Gemeente. We talked to the culture, the person in charge. I made it a problem. So the community, they invited them. Everybody was involved. Article 1, against racism. So it was big. It came into the newspaper, it was big. And in fact, the day it came out, that same day, people went there and put paint on the club. They painted it all over. So the man was scared. So we went to talk to him. Then he told me, he said, they attacked my place this evening because he put it on your Facebook. So people went and attacked my club, and they destroyed things. I said, well, you have to. You said black people should not enter here. So why I'm saying this story, because I knew I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for other people who are also not allowed to go there. So 2 weeks ago, I met a boy who told me, Babah, because of you now, I can enter that place every time. The first time he went there to enter, and they told him he cannot enter, then he took the newspaper out. He said, this guy who wrote this is my brother. And they took it apart. The man said, please don't tell anybody this story. Please keep it secret. You know? So now he comes there, 5 friends, they all enter. So what I'm saying is because we all can make impact by not becoming silent. You know, we all can make impact. If you don't want to say it out, you can be behind your desk and write something and bring it outside. You know? So we all have a responsibility. And we should be very conscious about that. So let's act. You know, just sitting doing nothing is also a disservice to humanity.
Yes, we can all make impact. And I think, I'm looking at the time, I think these are great words to end this evening. I'm sure there are more questions. There's a lot of more to say. Fortunately, we're close to the Cultuurcafé, and I'm hoping that Babah Tarawally might join us there for a drink. And if you have any question that you have not been able to post, then you can do it there. Thank you for being here, for asking questions, for joining the conversation. Thank you to Hilda, to Nina and Dejanique, and of course, a big applause to Babah Tarawally.